Well, back in 1974, Judith Ward was accused of planting the bomb which killed 12 people in an army coach on the M62. She spent 18 years in jail and was granted her freedom after appeal in May of 1992. She has just published a book called Ambushed, I beg your pardon, and it tells the story of her arrest and appeal and indeed those 18 lost years. It is in all good bookshops now, as they say. It's in paperback and it costs $9.99. I'm delighted Judith is joining me this afternoon. Good afternoon, Judith.
Hello.
Welcome to the programme. Thank you very much for agreeing to talk with me today, because I read your book a couple of weeks ago, and I must say it is, in some parts, an absolutely horrific account of what you had to go through whilst being, shall we say, locked up. Can I go back just a bit to the beginning? Because the case itself was very well documented at the time, certainly after your release. That you mentioned near the very beginning of the book about twins who were part of your family, whom you were unaware of for a while. They were adopted, I believe. Have you found out anything about them?
Well, as I understand it, they have, in this last few years, been in touch with my mother, but I certainly haven't been in touch with them.
Have you any desire to be in touch with them?
Well, I suppose I would, yeah, but I mean, that's entirely up to them.
Right. Now, let me go back again to the beginning. Your first job, let's look at your childhood. What was your childhood like, Judith?
Pretty ordinary, I suppose, much the same as most people that lived around where I lived. It was... I don't know. I mean, some people would say it was a deprived childhood, but I mean, obviously at the time you don't realise it's deprived, so you're not really missing anything.
Well, it's normal. You don't know anything else, so
that's right.
Well, that's the way it is. Your first job, where did this love of animals come from, or where indeed, or why did you decide to go for a job as a stable hand?
Well, that was really because of I wanted to work with children, and children and horses always go together. And so and I wanted to work outdoors as well. So, that's really why I took it up.
Now, something I was blissfully unaware of until I read your book was the fact that you joined the army at one stage. Tell us about that. How did that come about?
I'm not quite sure myself, actually. I was at a sort of, bored stage in my life, thinking, what can I do next? And I'm the kind of person I don't really enjoy 9-to-5 jobs, so I wanted something different. And my elder brother and my mother, indeed, had been in the army during the war. And, he was espousing what a good life it was, etc., etc. And I thought, well, sounds okay. Just might try it. So I did.
You didn't like it much, though. You went
not.
AWOL pretty darn quickly, didn't you?
That's right, yeah. Definitely not the life for me.
And then you actually gave yourself up.
Yeah, well, you see, you can't go home. You see, if you go AWOL, you can't go back to your mother's house or anything, because they're always looking for you. Right. So the best thing to do is give yourself up and they throw you out.
Now, on the night that you were eventually arrested in Liverpool, Valentine's Day, in fact,
indeed,
in 1974, what had led up to you being even suspect at that time? How had you come to the police's attention? Judith, do you smoke, or do you have a bad cold?
No, I've got a cold, unfortunately.
All right, we'll let you away with it.
Yes, well, I mean, at the time I was lifted that night in Liverpool. I wasn't actually suspect anyway. It was just they just sort of stopped. It was a very dark, rainy night, and they stopped and said, more or less, what are you doing here? And I thought, I've just come from London. I'm on my way to Ireland. And I'm stuck here in the rain, sort of thing. I had no money on me. I had nowhere to sleep. I was just bumming around, basically. And they said, well, can we just go into the police station just to inquire a bit further? And I said, yeah, sure. And that's really how it started.
You basically, you were quite happy to go because you wanted a bed for the night, more or less.
Well, it wasn't that. I mean, it was just that I felt no threat from them, at that stage. It was just a sort of routine, let's check this out,
Right. So, 5 days after that, you confessed to planting that bomb.
Yeah.
What were those 5 days like? Do you remember much of them?
No. I have sort of very vague impressions. It was horrendous. It was 5 days of constant interrogation and constant movement. I was moved around from sort of office to office, police station to police station, very disorientating,
Yeah.
and it was a very heavy period for me. I mean, very threatening. These people were very hostile. You're in a hostile environment. They're being very threatening towards you, and if you're not used to handling that kind of atmosphere, you just bow under it, which I did. I mean, I got no sleep for
5
at
days.
least 3 nights of those 5 nights.
When did it finally sink in with you that you were going to spend a heck of a long time locked up?
Oh, that really didn't occur for a long time, maybe still about 18 months after I got sentenced even,
Mm-hmm.
because you always think that, the whole situation is so ridiculous. Somebody's going to come along and say, I'm sorry, we've made a mistake,
Right.
and you can go home. So you believe that because you don't really want to believe anything else.
Right.
And it's only when you start to believe that you're going to be there for a long time that, the rot sets in, more or less.
When you do realise that, right, I'm going to be here for a while, could you sit down and look at it ever rationally and say, right, I'm here, I've got to try and get on with this?
Well, at the beginning, no. I mean, I was very depressed at the beginning when you sort of realise this. I went very depressed. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't sleep. It was dreadful. I went through a dreadful period. But after that time, you sort of assess yourself and say, stop feeling sorry for your bloody self here and get yourself together. And then you've got to assess your own situation. What are you going to do? Number one, can you do anything about getting out of prison?
Yeah.
And at that time, obviously not. And the second stage is then, well, what are you going to do whilst you're here? How are you going to handle this present situation?
Why, Judith, were you permitted so few visits or indeed letters whilst you were in Durham?
That is mainly because on the visit side, it's because I was Category A prisoner, which means that you can only have visitors from people who have been approved by the Home Office and by the Special Branch. These people actually go and check out your visitors, and if they don't approve, you don't get to visit them.
Right. And during that time when you were a Category A prisoner, what sort of other women were you allowed to mix with?
Oh yeah, you're allowed to mix with anybody. I mean, it's an open wing. Everybody mixes together, So there's women in for all sort of length of sentences and all types of crime.
You indeed met Annie McGuire there, didn't you?
Indeed, yeah.
Do you keep in touch?
Yeah, I was just on the phone to her this morning, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
And did the two of you talk whilst in prison about the fact that you felt you shouldn't have been there and what are we going to do to get out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. I mean, we often spoke about that. I mean, Annie always protested her innocence from the day she walked in. I didn't protest too much because I felt that, number one, at that stage, nobody was listening, which they weren't. And Annie practically drove herself round the bend. She really drove herself mad, trying to get people to believe in her innocence. And I thought, well, I'm not going down that road. And she was a nervous wreck by the end of her sentence.
You enrolled in Open University whilst in prison.
Yeah.
To get away from the prison workshop, shall we say?
That's
what
right.
Sort of work could you or were you doing before that?
Well, it was really exciting work, sort of sewing dungarees and the hems on towels and things like that.
Few of us, you see, ever get the chance to see inside prisons, women's prisons in particular. And we watch the likes of Cell Block H and we think, I wonder is it like that?
Not at all.
It's nothing like that.
It's absolutely, I just hate that program.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Does it bring back lots of horrible memories for you?
No, not really. It's just so unreal.
It's a bit patronising, is it?
Yeah.
I can imagine. Will you stay with me, Judith? Can I come back in a moment and talk with you some more?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you very much indeed. Judith Ward joining me today. She has just written a book called Ambushed, which tells the story of her 18 years experience of prison life. It is published by Vermilion and it is $9.99. It's 21 minutes past 2. Take that with Lulu and Relight My Fire. It's coming up to 24 minutes past 2 o'clock. Joining me today is Judith Ward. Judith has just published a book called Ambushed, which tells the story of her 18 years spent in jail. Judith, there's so much that I want to talk to you today about. Obviously, time is never on our side, on the outside, shall we say. Is there any humour inside a woman's prison? I mean, were there ever any light moments or any fun moments?
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's always... but I think one of the things a prisoner has to do is to be able to to laugh not only at their own situation but also at themselves,
Mm.
and not take. I mean, prison obviously is a very serious situation to be in, but at the same time, you can find great sense of humour in there.
All right. Well, obviously, having spent that amount of time in there, um, you have seen it from the inside. You must have thoughts on maybe failures of the penal system. If someone was ever to ask you for your thoughts on how things could be improved, what would you say?
I would say that there's a great deal to be done with the individual in prison. There isn't an awful lot done on that issue. I mean, there's plenty of talk about better conditions and rehabilitating prisoners and things like that. But if the prisoner themselves are not prepared and are not able to take up the outside society when they're released, there's little point in them being in the prison in the first place.
Mm.
And I think it's there that the system has to look towards to giving the individual a sense of confidence and well-being and self-worth, so that they're capable of handling the problems of the outside world.
All right. Of course, you even say on the penultimate page of your book, and I quote, "Of course, there is always the no smoke brigade, those people with an unshakable faith in British justice who hold a range of racial, social, and political prejudices. They believe that no one who gets into the sort of trouble I did can be entirely innocent."
That's right.
What do you say to the no smoke brigade?
Well, I just say to them, I'm obviously not going to waste my time trying to convince people that I'm innocent. Either they believe it or they don't. The fact is that my family and my friends believe it, and I live with it. So, I'm quite happy. And that people they really must open their eyes to what's going on around them a little bit more, rather than just having this sort of narrow-minded view of, oh, there's no smoke without fire.
And I mean, the really silly question we'll leave to the end. What did you enjoy most when you came out? When you got your freedom?
I think everything, actually.
No one thing in particular.
No, I think everything. Just being out and walking about and looking at the flowers and the trees and buying things and everything really.
What's the future, Judith, for you?
Well, I intend to go on writing. I have a commission for a play at the moment. I'm also campaigning for other prisoners. Notably the Bridgewater case at the